Dan Bidondi for TruthRadioShow.com. Today's Sunday, August 3rd of 2014, and I'm here to warn you folks about the Ebola virus outbreak that's possibly going to hit the United States here. I mean, all the signs are here, and I'm going to tell you the do's and don'ts and what to be aware of, because this is the agenda that the globalists are pushing. They're behind schedule. They want martial law. They want a new world order. They're behind schedule, and they're going to use this crisis, as Robert Emanuel quoted, never let a crisis go to waste. And right off the bat, I mean, right from the get-go, this outbreak in West Africa about the Ebola virus. I mean, you have the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, flying in the body of, that somebody contaminated with the Ebola virus. So that could lead to a number of things, and it's all tied in with the whole border crisis going on with the immigrants and such. All this is tied in together. Anybody see my related videos? The past few videos I've been talking about, all this works together. All this is tied in together. And the Ebola virus, and again, we're going to tell you the do's and don'ts, what to do, what not to be, what to be aware of, I'm sorry. And you got an article from Paul Joseph Watson, InfoWars, reporting, if Ebola virus hits the U.S., even healthy Americans will be quarantined. And with concerns growing over the deadly Ebola virus, which has killed 670 people in West Africa, preparations had already been underway in the United States, where even healthy Americans will be subjected to forced quarantine in the event of an Ebola outbreak pandemic. Western governments are now issuing alerts to doctors to be on the lookout for symptoms of the disease after the infected Liberian man was found to have traveled through the major transport hub in Nigeria. The World Health Organization has called the outbreak the worst on record, while Doctors Without Borders says the situation is out of control. And back in April, the Department of Defense announced that it had deployed biological diagnostic systems to National Guard support teams across the United States here in readiness for any potential Ebola outbreak. So, folks, I mean, you can see it. You can see it. Every time there's some kind of outbreak here in the United States, something our government massively prepares for it. And they don't prepare, I mean, there's tons of outbreaks, or tons of diseases, and they only prepare for seemingly the ones that really do hit, such as H1N1, which was a huge hoax. More people died from taking the vaccine, which I'm going to get into in a minute, about the vaccinations. And right off the bat, you have Obama now signing executive orders to allow detention of Americans with respiratory illnesses, by Paul Joseph Watson, InfoWars. As the Ebola outbreak continues to cause concern, President Barack Obama has signed an amendment to the executive order that would allow him to mandate the apprehension and detention of Americans who merely show signs of respiratory illnesses. In other words, a cold, little snivel and such, a little hack, or in your throat there, loss of voice. In the executive order titled Revisit the List of Quarantinable Communicable Diseases, Men's Executive Order 13295, passed by George W. Bush in April 2003, which allows for the apprehension, detention, and conditional release of individuals to prevent the introduction, transmission, or spread of suspected communicable diseases. And it just replaces this amendment here replaces the SARS to the Ebola virus. And basically what they're saying is anybody with a snivel, any kind of cough, sore throat, whatever, you're going to be detained. And again, I'm going to tell you what to do in a minute here. I just want to go through the articles, and I'm going to explain, folks, this is all the news here. This is also reported on mainstream media as well. And I'm going to explain these articles first, then we're going to get into what to do and what not to do. And now you have congressional report, Ebola biokits deployed to National Guard units in all 50 states, as we stated, reported by Mac Slavo, U.S. News. The Department of Defense informed Congress that has deployed biological diagnostic systems to National Guard support teams in all 50 states. Published by the Committee of Armed Services, the report published in April amid growing fears that the Ebola fever virus might spread outside West Africa says that the portable systems are designed for low probability, high consequence scenarios. Some 340 joint biological agent identification and diagnostic systems have been thus far given to emergency response personnel all over the country. And at the end of the article goes on, and And folks, you're seeing what could be a huge outbreak in this country. Now, the reason for the articles I had to read, this way, everybody knows it's on record, it's on, even mainstream's reporting about this. They're scaring everybody to say, hey, watch out, we might be plagued with the Ebola virus. Now I'm going to warn you what's going to go on now. Okay, they're already issuing, again, Obama signed executive orders to say, hey, you will be detained. And guess where you're going to be detained in? In these internment camps. The same internment camps that the illegal immigrants are being put into on record. The FEMA camps, National Emergency Centers. There's many names for these camps. But they're all the same place. FEMA camps, National Emergency camps, detention centers. That's all the same thing. I call them goulash camps because that's exactly what they are. But, people need to understand this. All these things are the same camps. So what they're doing is they're putting these people into these camps, the immigrants and such. And they're going to use this crisis, folks. I'm going to tell you, they're going to probably blame, just say some of the immigrants coming to the country that contracted the Ebola virus somehow, for somebody from Africa came into the border crisis here, and they're gonna somehow, some way, it's gonna affect the population. I hope I'm wrong. Hope this doesn't happen, but they're gonna use this crisis, and it's gonna be engineered by our government, folks. Make no mistake about that. Our government's gonna engineer this disease for one reason: to declare martial law. And why? So they could house the population, as you've seen the article. Even healthy Americans are going to be detained. Anybody that's not even affected by the Ebola virus, they're going to detain everybody. And that means martial law. They're going to have other names for it, folks. There's other names for martial law. Emergency Act or national state of emergency. There's different names, but it's martial law. That's what it is. And they're going to call state of emergency or whatever they were going to call it, but they're going to pull the plug for martial law and detain all Americans, even people not affected, as we stated. And the National Guard units all over the country are prepared for this. The FEMA and the Homeland Security, they're prepared for this. They've been doing drills for the last couple of years for this very incident, folks. For this incident. They're well prepared. They know what to do. They got everything, all the pawns in place, and they're ready to roll. So we need to wake up, folks. We need to understand what's going on. Now, this is one of the scenarios that might take place, folks. If this does have an outbreak, and I'm telling you right now, a lot of people are going to die. The fact that a lot of people will die. But they're going to offer a vaccination, just like they did with the H1N1, which was a beta test. It was nothing but an engineered beta test to get people to buy into the vaccines, because nobody was getting inoculated. Everybody was getting wise to the H1N1, to the flu shots and such. So GlaxoSmith and all these big pharma companies were losing money. So it was a scare tactic to get them to take the vaccinations. And it was a beta test to what's to come. And they call this a zombie apocalypse. The CDC even issued literature on the zombie apocalypse. What to do, what not to do, and all that. The zombie apocalypse is not actually zombies. It's like, it's something like an Ebola virus that's killing people massively. So what they're going to do is when they round everybody up, they're going to force you to take inoculation. And I'm warning you right now, at all costs, either through the shot or the nasal injection, at all costs, refuse that inoculation. Because just like the H1N1 on record, more people, 10 times more people, if not more, died taking a vaccination than people who died actually having the flu. And they'll tell you that goes away like a cold if you have a good immune system. But I don't know. I know the Ebola virus is very, very dangerous. But either way, folks, do not, at all costs, do not let yourself or your family take the vaccination. I'm telling you right now. But they're going to put people in these camps, and they're going to issue an RFID chip, more than likely, because they already have a thing in California here. I'm going to read this article real quick, which ties into what's going on, what they're going to do to the homeless people in California. And they call it Hotel California. This is Mark Slavo, U.S. News, reporting that Los Angeles officials, this is also InfoWars article here, Los Angeles officials to send homeless to internment camps and will be implanted with RFID chips, which is radio frequency identification devices. As an anonymous source claiming to work inside of the Los Angeles Department of Health Services recently dropped a bombshell that could set dangerous new precedent to how government deals with those they find to be a burden or a threat to a stable society. Well, there ain't no stable society. I mean, the whole society is going down. In a report penned by Paul Joseph Watson, the whistleblower says that the Los Angeles County is prepared to round up and forcefully house homeless citizens in detention facilities referred to internally by department employees as FEMA camps, though the source says that they have been instructed to refer to the detention areas as quote-unquote low-cost housing facilities. And according to the source, law enforcement teams will soon be rounding up homeless individuals on the streets, checking them into the facilities and detaining them indefinitely for their own health and safety, quote-unquote. What may be even more alarming, however, is that the government is reportedly planning on embedding these individuals with RFID chips, presumably to track their whereabouts, and what's worse, that these homeless people are not allowed to leave the camp unless it's on work release or whatever. But you are sitting, and this ties in with what's going on, folks, because they're going to use the immigration crisis. It's all tied in together. Watch my videos, my last reports on the immigration crisis, ISIS, all that stuff. It's all ties in together. But they're going to use this crisis, folks. Again, Robert Emanuel never let a crisis go to waste. A good crisis, they say. And they're going to use this crisis to push the North American Union to round up the citizens. And they're going to, you know, again, it's going to be martial law. They're going to say it's emergency, state of emergency, but they're going to round everybody up to say, hey, you know, we're going to keep you safe. And to keep you safe, you have to take the inoculations. And the people who even got a cold or a snivel has nothing to do with that. It could be dust related, whatever. They're going to detain you. And one of my jobs I work at, I had like some kind of respiratory problem because of the dust. I inhaled a lot of dust, and the next day I came in, I felt like I had pneumonia. And, you know, I reported that, whatever, and just like last week, the company, you know, the doctor in the company actually questioned me. Well, are you still getting coughed? I mean, are you still having that cough and any of those problems? And they were adamant about information about that. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. And they kept asking. So we know where this is going. And this is a government contracting company here. And, they, you know, they want basically to know, hey, anybody that's sick at all, we're going to detain you. And so anybody that has any cold at all, do not show that to your employer. Do not even tell them. And say, no, it's just something I swallowed if they catch you coughing. So I just swallowed something wrong, whatever. Because, folks, they'll call the authorities and detain you. Obama already signed the executive order. And, again, stay away from that. And if you have to, call out of work. And yeah, same thing with the schools. The school's going to be rolling around next month. And hopefully this is all resolved by then. And none of this really happens. But if it comes to the schools, okay, when kids go into school, some go in August, if they got a cough, keep them out, folks, because they will detain your children. And they'll come and detain you, quarantine you all to your home or to a detention center. And they're going to offer vaccines again. Stay away from them. And, folks, when you hear any word at all about some kind of outbreak in your area, you need to get your family and flee. And I'm encouraging right now, I'm not, you know, say this is a zombie apocalypse or whatever. I'm not scaring you, but you know what? These people are scaring you to say this is going to be worse than it is, which it is. It's going to be a lot worse than it really is. What they're going to use this is for martial law. And I'm encouraging people right now, you patriots out there, store up plenty of food, storable foods, you know, stuff that doesn't go bad, plenty of water, and survival equipment, guns and ammo, plenty of them, folks, because they're going to use foreign troops on the streets. Homeland Security and FEMA been every year in their national level exercises, they use foreign troops, UN peacekeepers, well, so-called peacekeepers, they're death keepers if you ask me, Russian troops and so on. They use them in part of the exercise for urban warfare against the American people. They got hundreds, over 1,000, internment camps set up here in the United States, all built by Halliburton, which they won a big contract by Homeland Security to build many, and that's it, the New York Times, I forgot the source, but many major articles reported on Halliburton winning a huge contract by Homeland Security to build internment camps. emergency centers, whatever you want to call them. Then you got HR 645, the Emergency Establishment Act. Now, these are the camps that the mainstream media and the government say, oh, you talk about them, you're a conspiracy theorist. Even though they admitted we're putting the immigrants into the internment camps, but they're a conspiracy theory. Even on the Army Regulations 210-35, it's called the Civilian Inmate Labor Program. Exactly what they're doing with the homeless in California. That's part of Army Regulations 210-35. And they're going to round people up, put the chips in them. Again, radio frequency identification device, which is RFID chip into the people. And folks, that is the mark of the beast. I'm going to do a whole video on that alone. And that's going to be coming up shortly. But I'm here to warn you right now, folks. Again, any outbreak in your area, folks, you need to get your family, get your weapons, your ammunition, storable foods, and sufficient supplies, and get the hell out of your Dodge. Go somewhere out in the wilderness somewhere if you have to until everything dies down, because folks, they will pull the plug for martial law. They're already training American people, getting them accustomed to Homeland Security, the National Guards all over the streets, or out here in Rhode Island. I mean, I keep missing them. People keep calling me, and by the time I get there, they're gone. They randomly show up in random places, Homeland Security, military, and everything, flooding the streets. Helicopters everywhere. I see them all the time. Military helicopters in the middle of the night at that, flying low over houses just to get people accustomed to a military police state. So folks, they are preparing the drills. They do drills all the time with the local and state police as well. They're all preparing for a mass civil unrest, martial law. So folks, and they're going to use a crisis to institute martial law, because they can't just throw the plug for martial law. They need a crisis, i.e. the Ebola virus. So you need to prepare, and again, stay away from the vaccinations. They're going to offer one, that first part they're going to offer it, then they're going to make it mandatory. So again, stay away from it, because they are going to be deadlier than the Ebola virus itself. It's all part of a world depopulation program by the United Nations called Agenda 21. And John P. Holdren, Obama's science in the White House, openly wrote a book called Eco Science, how they want to depopulate the world's population. I mean, this is not conspiracy, folks. This is all on record. Your health, your family, all your lives, your freedom are all at stake right here, right now. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope this thing blows away and it's just a scare. But folks, you need to be prepared for this, because the globalists have been training for this very incident. They got the camp set up. They got everything in place. All the pawns are ready to go and attack the king and queen, if you want to use a chess scenario here. And folks, they are ready. And you need to get ready as well. Again, stock up on ammunition and guns, plenty of storable foods, and you might have to fight. I mean, again, they're going to use foreign troops here to keep your family safe, folks. They're going to pull the plug for martial law. Get out of Dodge if you're in any outbreak or any kind of emergency emergency state act, whatever. And there's just so many names for it. I get confused here, but there's so many names for martial law. You hear any of the sorts, folks, you need to get out and keep your family safe. Go somewhere where nobody knows about. And folks, again, we're in a dire crisis right now. Our liberties are under assault. I mean, they're opening the borders up, and they're probably going to use that to push the North American Union along with, it all ties them together. Watch my prior videos about this. They're going to use the North American Union as the whole solution to all this crisis between the Ebola outbreak, the immigration crisis, where we're going to put them all. Hey, we got the perfect solution. As George Bush signed, sealed, and delivered, and Obama's supposed to usher us into this. And I believe 99.9% that Jeb Bush will be the next puppet president. He's picked by the globalists to be the next puppet president. And he's going to win a lot of Republicans over and a lot of people over. He's going to claim to be for gun rights, claim to be for freedom, but he's not. He's just the same slimy scum as Obama, Clinton, and his grandfather and father, the Bushes. So they're all globalists. They work together, folks. So, folks, we need to step up and step up now and put a stop to this. They're going to pull the plug for martial law, say no to the vaccine, store up on foods, water, ammunition, and everything else you need, folks, because we are on that brink of history right now. The New World Order is behind schedule, and they need the right crisis to push what they want, and which is going to be martial law, then the New World Order. So, folks, we need to pray mostly. And this is Dan Bidondi for TruthRadioShow.com.